What's going on, everybody? It's Carmine from Barmine Tech, and today we are still working on the Plex mini series. Today we're going to work with another Docker container called Ombi. Ombi is a Docker container that hosts a service, so you can have a requesting service for your Plex server. So if you have friends and family or whoever else on your Plex server, instead of having them text you or call you or whatever saying, hey, can you put this on the server, you can actually set up a system so they can go on Ombi, they can find what they want to watch, and then they can send a request for it. And based off user rights, you can either have it so somebody needs to approve the request, or it can get automatically processed through, and they automatically get sent to Sonarr or Radarr, and then when you get it, it'll automatically add it to your Plex server. So we're going to go over that today and get it all set up, so let's get started with this. One more thing before we get started with this video, you are going to need port forwarded. So if you're not familiar with port forwarding, check out for your router's manual how to open up ports, and you are going to need a domain for this if you want to make it public. So if you want your friends to be able to use this, you are going to need a domain so you can resolve it back for your machine, so your friends can go on the website and set it up that way. So just two things before we get started. So make sure you have an idea of both of those before you start. So if you want to go on Cloudflare and get a quick domain, make sure you do that so you can follow through with this video. So we're back in Portainer, and we're going to go over to our local environment. We're going to go to app templates, and we are using Nova Spirit's template. I'll put a link to that in the bottom, and if you don't have Docker or Portainer set up, I'll put a card up for a video to show you how to set that up. But today we're working with Ombi, so we're going to grab Ombi and we're going to deploy that. We don't need to change anything, so we're just going to deploy the container, and we're going to give this a second to deploy. So while this deploys, if you don't have your domain already set up, this would be a really good time to. I make it so it's request dot whatever my domain is. So you'll see in a few minutes when we configure that. But this would be a good time to have your domain and your ports opened up. So you are going to need port 3579 opened up. So you can go in your router and open that port up while you wait. So when we open up Ombi for the first time, we are going to get greeted with this wizard, and we're going to go through these steps. I'm going to show you how to set it up. I'm going to click next. So it's going to log in with Plex. So we're going to hit login with Plex real quick. We're going to sign in. Now we've successfully signed in, so we can close this window. And we hit next. To protect your Ombi, so I'm going to do barmine. And my password. So now this is where you're going to get a little tricky. So we're going to customize Ombi, so it's going to be for your domain. So your application name will be Ombi, and your application URL will be request whatever your domain is. So mine is request.barminetech.com. So we could actually change this to be Barmine Plex server. So this is what's actually going to show when you open up the window, and then this would be your site to redirect you back to your Ombi request. So if you have request.test.com, let's say, or whatever you have, that would be your site. That would be your application URL. And that's the setup. It's very simple. Nope, it wants HTTP. Okay, so then you just have to add HTTP. So after you do that, this is what Ombi is going to look like. It's a very straightforward site, and I think it's very helpful. I have it set up for one of my friends, so he could just send requests through here instead of having to text me every time, and it's very convenient. So we have some settings to configure before we can really get working with this. So if we come into settings and we're going to come over to media server, we're going to come to Plex. So we see Plex is actually already linked. So we have some other stuff we can do. So we're going to come over to Sonarr, and now we need to link Sonarr. So we're going to enable it, and we're going to give it scan for availability, and then we're going to give it the server host. So it's 192.168.50.152. That's for me. And then if we come over to Portainer, we can see our ports. It's 8989. So again, your IP is probably going to be different than my IP. So the easiest way to look at it is if you're running it off the Docker and Portainer like I do, whatever this IP you're running, is the right one for this, and then you can just come back over to Portainer and grab the ports from here from Portainer. So then we need an API key. So if I open up Sonarr, when I come to settings, so if I come into Portainer and I come to settings and then I come down to general, in here it'll show you the API key. So we can copy that and then we'll paste that in here. So after you get your information for your IP, your port, your API key, then you would come over here, you're going to click load folders, and you would select your folders from minus TV. You load your qualities, and then you would have whatever your quality is. So I would just select HD 720p, and then after you click test connectivity, everything will go through. Down here it'll say it's successfully connected. You'll click submit, and now Sonarr is connected with Ombi. So now we can move over to movies, and we'll click on Radarr. So now we're going to connect our Radarr with it. So it's the same thing, we're going to use the same IP because we're all hosted on the same Docker machine. Let's see, Radarr uses 7878, so we're going to do that. I don't want to use SSL, so now I'm just going to go grab that API key again. And it's a very similar way to grab the API key. You're just going to go to settings, general, and then your API key will be in there. So you can grab that. I actually need to put that in the wrong spot. Alright, I had an issue. I had the wrong API key. So then we could grab load the folders. You can see it says it gets them. We drop it down. I have folders. I'm going to load my profiles. And I could select my profile. And we're going to click test connectivity. We can connect. I'm going to save. So now Ombi is connected to Sonarr and Radarr. And if you use music, then you could get music off of there. That's no big deal. We also have notifications we can send. So they have a lot of different options they can get. The one that I usually have been using is Discord, just because it's easier than trying to configure these other ones. You can mess with them, but I'm just going to use Discord real quick. So I'm just going to make another quick webhook, and then we'll come back and configure this. So all I did, just like in the past, I went to Discord and made a quick webhook integration on a new channel. So there's that. We can put the username, it's Ombi, and if you want to put an icon, you can put it in there. So I'm going to send test. And here we go, this is a test from Ombi. If you see this, and we can successfully push a notification. So we're going to hit submit. So now Discord's everything's set up for that. So we have all of our basic settings we need configured. So now every time that somebody sends a request, or they send that Ombi says that something has been sent to Sonarr Radarr, or it's now available, Ombi will actually send a request. So if you share a Discord server with your friends or your family or whoever it is, they can go in there and they can see that they submitted their request, that their request has been approved, or that whatever they request is actually now available on Plex, and they can go watch it. So I like this a lot. It makes it very simple. Instead of me having to text my friends or whoever and be like, hey, this is available now, you can go do this. So now if we go back to users, we could actually add our test user. So we're going to do test, and I'm just going to give them a simple password. So every time you make a user, you're going to actually generate their password, and then if you want to keep filling in more information, you could put their email address in. If you put their email address in, they can actually get email notifications, I'm pretty sure, of their requests and when they're approved and when they're available. So we have a bunch of different settings in here to configure. It's very based off the user rights. So you could actually configure what users can request what media in what quality. So they have Sonarr here, so you can select what profile they use. So if you changed your profiles in Sonarr and Radarr, so they use different movie sizes or TV sizes or whatever it is, you can actually configure that here. And then if you want different locations for it to be stored, you could put it there. So I guess if you have specific folders for certain people, you could do it that way. So the ones that I would make sure you change are your quality profiles and your root folders for Sonarr and Radarr. So I'm just going to change that real quick. Now if we come over to roles, we can actually change who has access to what. So they have a bunch of different options. They have auto approve, admin, auto approve TV, auto approve music, request music, power user, request movie, request TV, disabled, receive newsletter, manage own requests, edit custom page. Typically, most of your users, you probably don't want full rights to all this. You probably just want to let them be able to request movies, or request TVs, and maybe request music if you do that on your server. So that if you give them these rights, it'll allow them to go onto Ombi and be able to go request new stuff. Now, I have a friend who I have on my Plex server, and I make it so instead of him having to request, me approve the request, I have it so Ombi automatically lets him request. So I actually have auto-approved movie and auto-approved TV. This is very helpful because he can go request his stuff, and he can get his stuff once it's available. So I would base that off who you want. If you have somebody you know is going to request a ton of TV shows and they don't watch anything, like you use Tatsuli to see it, then maybe you don't want them to have the auto approve feature. But if you know it's somebody who actually watches everything, and if they're going to request media, they're going to watch it, then maybe you want to give them the auto approve. And finally, there's the notifications, so you can give them all different ones. I don't usually configure this because my friends don't really care. So other than that, that's pretty much your settings for that. So we can do create, and now you can see we have the test account, and it has these rights. Well, here you can see that this is the web page. For whatever reason, there must be some bug this morning that it keeps logging me out every time I try to log in. But you can see we're using our domain, and we're going through there, and it just brings you to the same spot you would have over here when you log in. Alright, so when you come into Ombi, you're going to have some different options. So when you get requests in, you can actually see it's going to look something like this. So you would get your list populated with your requests, and you could have your details. So it's going to bring you back to that. But if we have pending requests, they would show up here. So if I want to request something, let's say I want to request Puss in Boots. So if we want to request Puss in Boots, I would come over here, I could request it. I'm going to select it on behalf of a user. I'm going to hit request. I'm going to come into TV shows, and now you can see it's processing the request. So now if I come into Discord, it's going to show you that my request for Puss in Boots has been approved because I'm a user that has availability to this. So then it's going to tell you that the user is requesting the movie, and if I like to approve it, but it's already been approved because I'm a user that can auto approve. So I'm going to come back into here, and I'm going to request it one more time as a user who doesn't have rights. So I'll just grab a random movie for the moment. So I'm going to select this as a user that doesn't have the rights just to show you. So I'm going to select that as the test account. I'm not going to change the profiles because they're already preset for the account. So we're going to click request, and if I come over to Discord, you can see it says that there's been a request. So I'm going to come back in, we're going to come to requests, and we can come in here and we can click options, and we can either approve or deny the request. If we approve it, it's going to push it through, send it to Radarr, so Radarr lists it now. Or if I could deny it, if I want to delete it, so I'm going to deny this request. We're going to click deny, we denied the request, and if I come into Discord again, it's going to say, hey, your request has been declined, sorry. So now we come back into Ombi, it's going to show you your denied request, and I can clear it out and delete it. So we'll just click that. But that's really the rundown of how Ombi works. It's a very cool tool. So that was Ombi and how to integrate it with your Plex server and link it up. So now you have a request system for your Plex server, for your friends or family or whoever to send requests to get new stuff adds at Plex. When you do link it and set it all up, it will work very nicely, and it's very convenient instead of having to have the back and forth of, hey, can you add this to Plex, or can you get this on Plex, or however your friends or whoever uses your Plex server do it. I think Ombi is a great little tool. I've been using it for a few months, and it comes in very convenient for me. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one.